Morning, guys. So we'll start by having a look at the homework. So I was trying to combine the work that we did last week with the work that we're doing this week on graphs. Now for the homework, you didn't actually have to draw the graph, which just made it a bit handier, I suppose, for you. Okay, so part of a linear sequence is shown, and using the graph, we have to answer these 4 questions. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to write down the sequence. So the first term of the sequence I can see here. Sorry, it's a very crooked arrow. The first term of the sequence is represented by that dot there, and that dot is in line with 2. The second term of the sequence is that dot there, and that dot there is 4. The third term of the sequence is represented by that dot, and that dot is in line with the 6. So 2, 4, 6 is our sequence. Find the start term of the sequence. The start term of the sequence is the first term, which is 2. Find the first difference or the common difference. So that's how much it's jumping by. So to go from 2 to 4, that's going up by 2. 4 to 6 is going up by 2. Sorry. So the common difference or the first difference is 2. Plot and label the next 3 terms in the graph. So next 3. So the next one is going to be 8, then 10, then 12. Okay. So I'm going up here from the 4. And I'm going to go all the way to 8. Oh my god, this is so annoying. They didn't give us enough space. Okay. If this was an exam question, that would never happen. Okay, they always give you enough space. Anyway, it's actually no harm because I addressed a few things when I was correcting your homework that I just want to kind of talk through. Okay, so I need to get to, what, they're going up in 1s or 2s? I feel like it might have been 1s. Okay, let's hope I have enough space there. Yeah, they went to be 1s. Okay. So you need to watch the boxes, okay? There was too many people doing this kind of thing. 2, 4, 6, okay? So what I've done there is the first time I did 1 box, and the next time I did 2 boxes. You can't have that, okay? It has to be even. So if the very first one you do is 1 box, then you need to keep going with 1 box, okay? So I'm just going to continue to do what the question did. So they're going up in 1s. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just about 10, 11, and 12. Okay? And then across the bottom, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I probably would have spread those out and done 2 boxes, but because they didn't over here, I'm just going to be consistent. Okay, so it's the same. Okay, so again, I've gone single boxes across here, and every single one of them are single box spacings. You need to use these lines to mark. Okay, it's not, you're not working in the box, you're working on the lines. Okay, the box is just the separation. So when you looked, hopefully you went back and looked at your corrections. These are some of the mistakes that people made, okay? So make sure you jump in the same boxes each time. Also make sure you jump by the same numbers each time. There was a couple of people who had, like, say, a line, and I'll rub this out now. They were like 3. and then the next one, and they did their single box, but the next one was 8s, and then 13. Okay, so you can't have that because this jump is 3 and this jump is 5. It has to be consistent. So if your first jump was 3, you need to stick with 3. Okay? And the other thing, I actually think this might have been my fault. I don't know if I was clear enough about this, so I'm going to be now. You have to label your axes, okay? So this one here is called the x-axis. And on the x-axis, I have put the term number. Okay? And then this other one over here is called the y-axis. And on the y-axis, I've put the term value. Okay, and that will always be the case. So you can just about see the sequence there. So term number 1, so I'm here at term number 1, that's where my I is, and term number 1 has a value of 2, so I put the dot there, okay? It needs to be in line with both things. So it needs to be in line with term number 1, and it needs to be in line with a value of 2. Okay, on the lines. Okay, term number 2 has a value of 4. So again, I'm on this line here, and I'm going to keep going till I hit 4. So now I have term number 2, so I'm in line with number 2, and term number 4, I'm in line with the 4. Sorry, term value 4, I'm in line with the 4. Okay, next one is term number 3 is a 6. So there's my dot. It's in line with term number 3, and the value of that term is 6. Okay. Now the new ones, might change colour. So term number 4 is 8. So again, I'm in line there with term number 4, and the value of term number 4 is 8. Okay. Number 5 is 10. So I line up with term number 5 and I line up with 10. And term number 6 is 12. So I line up with the 6 and I line up with the 12. Okay? None of those lines stay. They need to go. Okay? Then, this is another thing some people forgot to do. You must draw your line. Okay, so you have to get a ruler and draw a line joining your dots together. Okay, so equal spaces using the lines to mark the space. That's on both axes. Equal intervals, which means if you're going up in 1s, that you keep going up in 1s. If you're going up in 2s, that you keep going up in 2s. Label your axes. Okay, those words are important. And then when you're putting your dots in, make sure that they line up on the x-axis and on the y-axis. Okay? And the last part here then is the general term. Okay, so anytime we see general term, we write down our formula. Okay, A is the start term, and the start term is 2. D is the common difference, and the common difference is also 2. So Tn is 2 plus n minus 1 times 2. So this 2 here that's stuck to the bracket is going to get multiplied by the n and by the minus 1. The rest of it is not involved in that multiplication, so we just write it down. So Tn equals 2 plus. Now, the first multiplication you're going to do is 2 multiplied by n, and the answer to that is 2n. So that goes in here. The second multiplication is 2 multiplied by minus 1, That you can use your calculator if you need the help. So it's -2, and that goes in here. So the Tn equals stays. This n doesn't have any other n's to add to, so it stays on its own, as always. The other two can be combined. So what we have is 2 minus 2. If you type that into your calculator will tell you that it's 0. And again, anytime your calculator gives you a number without a sign, it's always a plus. So that's plus 0. So 2n plus 0 is the general term. Okay? Right, so Thursday, then I don't know what the date is, the 11th of March, or Friday the 12th of March, depending on the class. I'll add your homework in there in a sec. Okay, so we're actually nearly there, thank God. What we're going to look at today is non-linear patterns. Okay, so we talked about non-linear patterns before. So you have a non-linear pattern when, sorry, I can't find it on my iPad, story of my life. There it is. So you have a non-linear pattern when the sequence does not have a common difference. Sorry, that's taking a minute to catch up there now. Getting there. Not. Okay, so a linear pattern is one that does have a common difference. A non-linear pattern is one that does not have a common difference. And if you remember from the previous chapter, we looked at a couple of non-linear patterns. We looked at quadratic, we looked at cubic, and we looked at exponential. Okay, so when we did the first chapter, we looked at some specific non-linear patterns, which I've written down, and now we have to wait for it to catch up. Okay, so in green here are your 3 non-linear patterns that we studied in the previous chapter. And the 2 pictures here actually show different non-linear patterns. So for it to be non-linear, basically it's not a straight line. So there's all different types of graphs that are non-linear. Right, it is catching up now. Right, I think we're there. So we'll have a look at this pattern here. So they have graphed the pattern for you, and you can see from the picture that it's definitely not a straight line. Okay, so if it's not a straight line, that means this is going to be non-linear. Sorry lads, I don't know why this is taking so long to sync. Right, so it says copy and complete the following table. So the first term has what value? Okay, so we know how to read these graphs now. There's the first term. You go up to the dot and it has a value of 3. So I put 3 into the table. The second dot, so I go to the second term, I go up to the dot, and that has a value of 4. I'll just remove those so that's easier to see. The third dot, go up to the dot, so go from the third term up to the dot and go across. And we get 3 again. And then the fourth one, okay, the fourth one is here, and we have to go across to get the value of the term. And the value of that last one is 0. Okay, so you get the value of the y-axis, so the up and down axis. So you always have to go across to get the value. Okay, so then they want us to look at the difference. Okay, so what's the difference here between 3 and 4? That's a difference of +1. The difference between 4 and 3 is -1. And the difference between 3 and 0 is -3. So the first jump has gone up by 1, then it's gone down by 1, and then it's gone down by 3. Okay, so state whether this graph represents a linear or a non-linear pattern. Give a reason for your answer. So this is a non-linear pattern. And my reason, now I only need one reason, but I can give you 2. So my first reason is that the graph is not, can't spell. Okay, so I'm saying that it's a non-linear pattern. I'm asked for a reason. I'm going to give you 2 just because you can give either. So the first reason I'm giving is that the graph is not a straight line. I have written this down, it's just taking a minute. And the second reason is that it does not have a common... Sorry. I got a puppy and he's eating my couch. It does not have a common first. Excuse me. Difference. Okay, so 2 reasons. Either or, it doesn't really matter which one you go with. It's going to take an age now to sync. It was really bad yesterday, but it's actually been fine today, until now, which is, handy. I don't think it'll even let me shut it down. No. No. Don't know what's going to happen to that. Just going to try and quit it, and then I'm going to try and reopen it. Okay. See if that helps. No. Oh yeah, excellent. Okay, so was it linear or non-linear? It was non-linear. The reason you don't need both, the graph is not a straight line, so it's not linear. And the other way I know is because it does not have a common first difference. So when I did the first difference, I got different numbers. I don't know if anybody has spotted this, but if you look at the second difference, that's gone down by 2, and that's gone down by 2. So I don't know, do you remember doing these? That's a common second difference, which means I know what type of nonlinear pattern this is. It has a name and it's quadratic. Okay? Now that's not part of this question. That's just additional information because we did it in the first chapter. So that is information that you have, and so that's the only reason I'm going through it. Okay? So that's essentially what we're doing. We're looking at patterns that are not linear anymore. And how do you know that it's not linear? You will either know because when you look at the graph, it won't be a straight line, or when you do the first difference, it won't be common. It won't be the same each time. Okay? Like there's 3 graphs here. The graphs of 3 sequences are shown. The lines and curves are included for clarity. Identify for each sequence whether it is linear or non-linear. So the only linear sequence there is B because that's the only one that's a straight line. The green one has a big curve upwards, so it's definitely not straight. And C curves kind of upwards and then downwards. Okay, but either way, both A and C curve. Okay? Right, so I'm going to get you for homework to do, I saw that question there, yeah, question 2, and yeah, I want you to draw question 3. All right, so question 2 and question 3 are going to be for homework. These are due for Monday. Let me get the other one. Let's do this in a few bits. Okay, so in the first one, you don't have to draw the graph. They've drawn the graph for you. So similar to the example I did. In this second one, you do have to draw the graph. So they've given you a template. So for any of you working on the iPad, you can just use the template. And if you're working on your copy, you'll have to copy the template. But it shouldn't take long. Okay, and the general questions are the same, linear or non-linear, and how do you know? Okay? So those 2 questions for homework, please, for Monday. All right, thanks guys. Have a nice weekend.